Today I'm talking about the band Pantera and specifically the album Cowboys from Hell, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes. First of all, I'm going to talk about how I discovered that this was not their debut album as I had believed it was for a long time. Then I'll give you some history on their glam metal years and talk about the time that Dimebag almost joined a thrash metal band, which was something I didn't know about, but I found out during my research. And there's a lot more going on in the story involving Terry Date, another thrash band, and an underground band that may have invented their sound. So I have a lot to unpack here, so let's get into it. Back in the 90s, I was a big fan of Pantera, but I discovered them with what I thought was their second album, Vulgar Display of Power. It wasn't until many years later that I found out that they had an entire career before that. I didn't make that discovery until many years later, and by many years, I'm talking sometime around 2015 or 2016. You see, one day I was given an invite to join a Facebook group by an old friend. The name of this group was called Rock and Roll Outlaws. There was this moderator of the group that used to post photos of albums that were celebrating anniversaries, and then he would copy and paste a short paragraph from the album's Wikipedia page. One day he posted the album cover for Cowboys from Hell. Then I read the description of what he posts, and I see it says Cowboys from Hell is the 5th studio album by Pantera. I think to myself, wait a minute, it's their 5th album, how is that possible? Then I go down the Wikipedia rabbit hole and I find out they had 4 albums before this. I ended up listening to them by searching uploads on YouTube, and I discover they used to be a glam metal band. So that's how I found out about the backstory of Pantera, but there's a lot more to the story, so let me go back to the beginning. Pantera was formed in 1981 in Arlington, Texas by brothers Darrell Darrell Abbott on guitar and Vinnie Paul Abbott on drums. At the time, the band had 2 other members, vocalist Donnie Hart, guitarist Terry Glaze, and bassist Tommy Bradford. They started out as a glam metal band playing covers of Quiet Riot and Van Halen. They also had some original material that they would play in the clubs. Then in 1982, Donnie Hart left the band and Terry Glaze took over as lead vocalist. Afterwards, Tommy Bradford was replaced by Rex Brown, who, at the time, went by the name Rex Rocker. During this time, they released 3 albums, which are now considered to be their Glamterra albums. They were Metal Magic from 1983, Projects in the Jungle from 1984, and I Am the Night from 1985. They were all produced by Dime and Vinnie's dad, Jerry Abbott, at Pentangle Studios. By 1986, they started to change their sound as they felt they were not getting anywhere with the glam metal sound. Around the same time, guitar player Terry Glaze left the band. Then sometime around 1987, the band found Phil Anselmo. They started to play a little heavier and released an album called Power Metal. At this point in time, they had not adopted their groove metal sound as of yet, but Power Metal was more of a transitional album. But then Dimebag was given an offer that would have changed the course of metal. In 1989, Dimebag Darrell was offered an opportunity to join Megadeth by Dave Mustaine. Dimebag received a phone call from Dave himself inviting him to join Megadeth. He was shocked that he got a call from one of the biggest thrash bands of all time, but Dimebag couldn't abandon his brother Vinnie. So he said he would only take the position if they take Vinnie as well. Dave said no because he had already hired Nick Menza as the drummer, so Dimebag had to turn down the offer. I'm sure at the time he wondered if he had made the biggest mistake of his life, but he knew deep down that he had to remain loyal to his family. If he had said yes, we probably would have gotten a different version of Megadeth's Rust in Peace, but instead we got Cowboys from Hell, which was the album that made them one of the biggest metal bands of the 90s. The story's not over yet, so let's see how the story continues. The year was 1989 and the band is looking to score a major label deal. They didn't have it easy though. They were turned down 28 times by every major label on the face of the earth. Their breakthrough came when Derek Shulman, the head of ATCO, sent representatives Mark Ross and Stevenson Eugenio to see the band perform in Texas. Mark Ross was immediately impressed by Pantera's live performance. Let's fucking do it, the art of shredding. He was completely blown away by the level of musicianship. He called his boss that very night to recommend signing the band. But it wasn't the live performance that sealed the deal. It was a simple demo tape. Pantera's 1989 demo, known as Cowboys from Hell, the Demos, played a crucial role in convincing ATCO to sign the band. The demo showcased Pantera's new, heavier sound, which was a departure from their earlier glam metal style. They made it clear that they were serious about their evolved musical direction, which incorporated groove and thrash. This demo, along with the band's busy touring schedule, proved to ATCO that the band meant business and nothing would stop them. This new sound was the determining factor that convinced ATCO's representatives to see them live, and the energy of that show was enough to seal the deal. It was now time for them to record their first album for ATCO, called Cowboys from Hell. Terry Date was the producer for Cowboys from Hell, but interestingly, he wasn't their first choice. Their first choice was actually Max Norman, but he was unavailable, so they got Terry Date, who ended up being a major factor in shaping their sound. He was somebody who had worked with bands like Soundgarden, Metal Church, and Overkill, the latter of which will be another factor in the development of the sound. Terry Date's experience helped Pantera refine their sound. They got heavier, their songs were tighter, and they developed this more aggressive type of groove metal that was completely different from their earlier glam metal sound. Terry Date was an expert in the field, and he was very disciplined, but the band had a very good chemistry working with him in the studio. Bass player Rex Brown said that Terry Date was a person who really helped capture the band's energy in the studio. Not only that, but Vinnie Paul worked closely with him on the album's engineering. But like I said, there was another band that really played a major role in shaping their sound, and that was Overkill. Specifically, the sound of their 1989 album, The Years of Decay. Dimebag Darrell specifically cites this album as a major influence on his guitar tone and as an influence in developing this new sound. Overkill's sound on this particular album really helped influence the riff-driven style of this new album, Cowboys from Hell. There was another band that really helped shape their sound, and it was more of an underground band named Ex-Hoarder. They are a New Orleans-based band, and they are really the band that started playing this groove metal style that Pantera would be playing afterwards. A lot of people think that they ripped off the Pantera sound, but in a way, it's the other way around. But it's all debatable. I don't want to get into that today. But what I do want to talk about is the fact that Phil Anselmo was a big fan of Ex-Hoarder. He was especially influenced by the band's vocal style. This was another major factor that helped shape the sound on Cowboys from Hell. So a lot of that influence on this album came specifically from Ex-Hoarder's album, Slaughter in the Vatican. That album was released in 1988, which was 2 years before Cowboys from Hell. They eventually released Cowboys from Hell on July 24th, 1990, so it's also celebrating its 35th anniversary. But the album didn't really take off at first. It was one of those albums that just gained momentum over time. But eventually, it sold 2 million copies in the United States, being certified double platinum, which is pretty impressive for an album of this nature. But the album never really climbed that high on the Billboard 200 chart. It only peaked around 117, but it was one of those albums that sold slowly. But if you look at worldwide sales, it's well over 2 million, counting all the different countries that it sold in. And that is a story of Pantera and Cowboys from Hell. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this album. If you want to check out a video I did on their next album, Vulgar Display of Power, I'll stick that right here. It's more of an album review format. I did it a few years ago. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you have not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.